Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the June 22, 2026 meeting of the Solvang City Council. Please turn off or silence your phones, and we'll get underway. Madam Clerk, would you read the roll? Oh, we're beginning at 6:30. I know you'd like to have me put the time in the record. Would you call roll call, please?
Councilmember Infante.
Here.
Councilmember Claudia Arona.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Here.
Councilmember Elizabeth Arona.
Here.
Mayor Brown.
Here.
Thank you.
Mr. Infante, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Absolutely. Your hand over your heart, raising the flag.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. We have a proclamation this evening, which bittersweet. It's a retirement of one of our own here in the community. And so, but it's, I know it's a good thing too. This is a proclamation for Ann McCarty retirement. Whereas after more than 30 years of dedicated service to the North County Rape Crisis and Child Protection Center, including 10 years as executive director, Ann McCarty is retiring. And whereas throughout her tenure, Ann established essential partnerships in Solvang and across Santa Barbara County and was instrumental in the integrating human trafficking advocacy into the center's mission. She has served on the Santa Barbara Human Trafficking Task Force since its inception in 2012 and is currently a member of the leadership team. And whereas her leadership fostered key collaborations with AAUW and Pedal the Pacific to combat human trafficking, additionally, Ann has been a vital presence on the Child Abuse Prevention Council, Kids Network Executive Committee, First Five Communications Committee, the K-12 School Action Group, and the Lompoc Youth Violence Coalition. And whereas Ann, supported by her husband Bob, has made a profound difference in our community, now therefore be it resolved that I, Mayor David Brown, along with the City Council of the City of Solvang, California, do hereby honor Ann's leadership and acknowledge needed to open doors in her efforts in working with the residents of Solvang to educate people on the issues of rape, sexual assault, child abuse, and human trafficking. In witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the official seal of the City of Solvang, California, to be affixed this 22nd day of June 2026. And congratulations, and thank you so much for all you've done.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Only a few? You know, when I stood here in April, I thought, well, I probably should say something since that would be my last time in front of you. I never imagined that anything like this would happen. Mayor Brown, members of the City Council, thank you so much for this honor. You know, when I announced my retirement back in October, I thought, gosh, June will never get here. And here we are, June 22nd. I've got 6 days left, and I'm nowhere near being done. Part of me feels like I'm nowhere near being done with my career, but I know it's time to step aside and let the organization continue to flourish under new leadership. And I'm excited about that. I'm excited for our new leaders to continue to work with City of Solvang officials, with community members, with other nonprofits that are here in the Valley. And I'm just so appreciative of all the years that I've had to be able to work with individuals in this community, from other community leaders, from other nonprofit leaders. You know, it takes truly does take a village in order to do this work. There's absolutely no way we could do it by ourselves. And every time I stand up in front of you and I say that the city of Solvang has taken a stance against sexual assault, child abuse, human trafficking, exploitation, I mean that. I see it in the brochures that you have around town. I see it in the signs that you have in your doors. I see it in the messages that your other community leaders are spreading. So I thank you. I thank you for allowing me this space to come in front of you a couple times a year, and especially tonight. This means so much to me. You know, I take Xanax so I don't get emotional. I'm just kidding. I am trying my best not to lose it like I normally would, simply because leaving is hard. I have thoroughly enjoyed the last 32 years, maybe not every single day. It's kind of like when you say, I love my husband, but I don't like him very much right now. You know, it's kind of like that. It's like what I heard. See? My job is like that. Our job is like that. This work is hard. But once again, there's absolutely no way that we can do this work in this community without your support. And we are truly thankful and grateful for lifting us up when we needed to be lifted up and supporting us all along the way. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Ann, and congratulations. There's going to be a huge legacy to fill on your behalf, but you've left a great path for those to follow. So thank you for that. Okay, we have no presentations, but we do have some. We'll move on to public communications. Would you read that into the record, please?
At this time, you may address the council on items not on the agenda and on consent. Time limit is 3 minutes. We will start with in-person public comments first.
Okay, thank you. Denise Alamine, followed by Bill Ballou.
Hi, I'm Denise Elamine, and I am here to talk about some of the consent items. The one thing that I wanted to talk about was the crossing guard services. We're paying $150,000 for 2 years. And we're paying $1.5 million for sheriff contract for the police. So I'm kind of confused at why aren't the police supplying the guards. I guess this is for Christmas when you can't turn a corner without somebody walking through. So my thing is, and you guys it's on the consent agenda, so you're just gonna say we approve it, and then it moves on. And the second one is the agreement with Carrillo Engineers. And this is for the WWTP, which is the Water Quality Project. This particular engineering company was hired back in 2020, and I think we're in 2026. And it appears that we have a pattern here at in Solvang that we extend contracts with no additional charges, and then once they come up with more charges, then we extend the amount of money. So this is extending his contract, but there is no dollar amount to it. The next time they come on the consent items, then the dollar amount will be there. It would be nice if we could do it all at the same time and not in increments. And also, I read that the water, the WWTF, I want to make sure I have it right because I'm always being said that I am not telling the truth. This is the long-term outlook. The budget highlights the importance of continued fiscal discipline and long-term financial planning. While the fiscal year 2026 operating budget remains balanced, the city's forecast through fiscal year 2036 shows growing pressure on the general fund. Water and wastewater funds are projected expenditures continue to outpace projected revenues. Without corrective actions, the general fund balance is projected to decline to a negative balance of approximately $16 million by fiscal year 2036. Measure U revenues will continue to play an important role in supplementing the general fund and supporting city services. So I just want to say that we need to do better.
Thank you. Bill Bulow, I'm sorry. Bulow. One of these days I'll get it right.
Good afternoon, Mayor Brown, members of the council, esteemed guests. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Bill Bulow, General Manager of the San Ynez River Water Conservation District. I'm here today to talk about the most recent objection letter dated June 12 from the City of Solvang concerning the Conservation District's rate study. Each year, the district must do a rate study to comply with Proposition 26 and to set its groundwater pump charge for the next fiscal year. This year, the primary objection of the city was the misinterpretation of one sentence on page 6 of our rate study in which the term right to pump was conflated with water rights, which is a whole different topic. Regarding the city's water right, the Conservation District very much agrees with the city that it does not or cannot grant or take away water rights. In consideration of the city's objection, the district's board made editing changes to its rate study and resolution during the board meeting last week. A copy of the change pages and the response to our the objections and the letter from the city are in a packet I have here I'll hand out. We believe these changes address the main concern raised by the objection letter of the city and were made to the satisfaction of your staff who attended the meeting. To be clear, the Conservation District protects water rights. An example of the district's commitment to protecting the city's water rights is that since 2023, the district has dedicated staffing and financial resources to support Solvang and its council with the permit of its new well during the State Board Administration Hearing Office proceedings. To date, the district has spent nearly $100,000 to support Solvang during these efforts. Given the support the district has provided and our long-standing relationship, this overreaction to our rate study by city staff last week, Monday's board meeting, was both shocking and disappointing. This all could have been avoided and handled with a simple phone call. Rather than threatening litigation and devolving the relationship between our two agencies and continuing this disagreement, we must come together and work towards common goals and unite against the many outside threats to our valley's water supply. The district has always been and will continue to be here to help the city. As always, we appreciate the interest and collaboration by the City of Solvang on matters we have in common, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Am I allowed to hand these out?
If you give them to our clerk, she'll hand them out accordingly. Thank you very much. Is there anyone online? That's the last slip that I have for public comment. No, nobody online. Anybody else in our audience? Thank you. We're closing then public communications and moving on to item 4, City Manager's Report.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. A couple of items to talk about tonight. We have the 4th of July event next weekend and parade, and I want to read a message that was published in our recent newsletter and will also be shared in social media circles as a reminder to our residents and anybody who might be watching or listening online. As we prepare to celebrate Independence Day, the City of Solvang kindly reminds residents and visitors that chairs, blankets, coolers, and other personal items may be placed along the parade route beginning no sooner than 6 p.m. on July 3rd. To help ensure public safety and maintain compliance with ADA accessibility requirements, all sidewalks, curb ramps, driveways, crosswalks, and other public rights-of-way must remain clear and unobstructed at all times. Items placed in these areas or in a manner that restricts pedestrian access may be removed. Keeping sidewalks and public pathways clear helps ensure accessibility for all community members and allows everyone to safely enjoy the festivities. We appreciate your anticipated cooperation in helping keep Solvang welcoming and accessible for all. Thank you and have a safe and enjoyable holiday. That's from our marketing and Parks and Rec group. Also, I know there's been some interest expressed. We did a survey regarding the Friedensborg Canyon and the one-way analysis that was being done, and that should be coming to a council meeting near you soon. I don't have an exact date, and I apologize for the delay, but there have been a lot of other pressing matters, not the least of which was the budget. And so we're getting real close, if not at the next meeting, certainly by the meeting in August. Jennifer Cabello wanted me to remind everybody about the Dengulna Hava, the Golden Garden thing. I shared the video with you all last meeting. Residents will be able to nominate themselves or even a neighbor whose yard they feel deserves recognition. There are 3 categories: most beautiful, celebrating outstanding visual appeal and landscaping; most drought tolerant, highlighting water-wise landscaping and sustainable choices; and exceptional example of defensible space, creating a landscape that protects your home while enhancing our community's safety. The video, Jennifer said, the spring would end on May 31st, but actually it's been extended to the end of June. So please, again, nominate yourself or somebody else that you want to have the recognition. The link to apply is on our website and on social media pages. And that's all I have for now.
Thank you. Any questions of the city manager?
Randy, did you want to make any comments about the fire at the Mission hillside or the open field? I think there was a lot of consciousness about that. And we're doing a ton of weed abatement, but I want to make sure community is thinking through, as we go into 4th of July weekend, some fire safety techniques as well.
So we're in the process of working with the county and the adjoining jurisdictions, or adjacent jurisdictions, Buellton, the tribe, and Lompoc about getting community wildfire protection plan. We've allocated funding for that in next year's budget, which will be adopted hopefully later this evening. And it will be a valley-wide look at our fire issues or potential fire issues and fire mitigation opportunities that ideally will open up several grant opportunities for us in the near future.
Thank you. Were you? I think you were wanting to.
For making sure people call 911 quickly before trying to make their
So we had an incident recently over on the Mission property where some disking was being done and it started a small fire, and people tried to put it out themselves instead of calling 911 first. So fortunately, it was not a particularly windy day. Had it been a windy day, it would have gotten out a lot. Somebody finally called 911. It ended up burning about 1.5 acres. And we were fortunate, again, that it wasn't a windy day. But just a reminder that in this time of year, a small spark and the low moisture content in the fuel, it can take off very quickly. So if you see an issue, obviously be ready to put it out, but also call 911. It's better safe than sorry.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. We'll move on to item 5. Would you read that into the record, please, Ms. Clerk?
Government Code Section 53232.3D, aka AB 1234, and Government Code Section 84308, aka SB 1439, report out, ex parte communications, council comments, requests.
Thank you. Anyone want to start off? Okay, Mr. Alfonte.
I attended the Library Advisory Committee, the Santa Barbara Library Advisory Committee, with a representative from Buellton and representatives from all the libraries. For those of you that have kids who are familiar with it, the Reading Rainbow, has started again. And they actually did a filming down at the Santa Barbara Library. So it's just a national kids reading program. So it was very interesting. All the librarians thought it was terrific. I don't know anything about it. Anyway, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Have anything? Ms. Smith?
I'm usually not so social, but I was rather social this last week. I was invited by one of the board members of the Lompoc Theater project to tour the theater. So I did so and learned a lot about what they are doing. And after that tour, they did host a dinner at one of the local restaurants afterwards that I did attend. I also attended the Santa Barbara Vintners annual meeting at the Marriott in Buellton last week. Learned about everything that they're doing right now. I went to the first night of the new Susan Williams Music in the Park. There's great attendance. I actually saw people I know from Santa Barbara, from Santa Maria, so people were coming like far and wide. And then I did attend the Elverhoy Museum fundraiser at Vega Vineyard on Saturday night. And Mark was there, and Randy was there, and Liz was
I
there,
forgot to mention that one. Thank you.
I got you.
Louise.
and Jose was there.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Sounds like a small group of friends.
We stayed apart from each other. We didn't sit at the same table. We were good. No business.
No business.
No, just a lot of wine. It was a great event, and the museum, as always, puts on a great fundraiser and a great event. So, and chose a great venue at Vega Vineyard. So I did also attend the Alverhoy fundraiser, the annual fundraiser. I also attended the second Parks and Rec workshop meeting, which was attended by the work group. I want to say a couple things. I thought that, first of all, the way that the meetings are being facilitated is really great and quite interesting because we're being asked to be thorough, thoughtful about what we wished we would have had from 20 years ago and to think forward 20 years from now so that we are not thinking of the project in a tactical way, but really what do we believe the community will need from a long-term investment and a long-term recreation perspective. So I will say that the material will be shared in a future public meeting, but it looks just really, really exciting, the ideas that are coming forward for the community. So I will make sure I attend all of those meetings. I also attended a dinner at the Senior Center, just their annual board meeting dinner or board meeting hosted dinner, and got a chance to check in on that part of the community who's getting pretty excited about the late fall opening of their facility. I did want to, so that's the end of my report outs, but I did want to make a request, which is, it's the end of our fiscal year, which usually feels like a milestone for us, and we have checked on the next month's agenda and still didn't see our design guidebook anywhere on the agenda. So it feels like yet another year's gone by and we don't have this really critical framework for how we make design decisions in this city. And I'm going to ask really firmly, we need to see that within the next 30 days come through, and we need to understand the process, and we need to accelerate some acceptance of it. Given the docket of how much development we have going on in the city, it's a really critical missing element. So I would appeal to see that. And then while I'm at it, appeal to see we've got some artifacts and correspondence from the community about the Alice L. Glenn project, a very long roster of signatures on a document that looks like they're looking for attention on this project. So I'm going to ask again that we do our own traffic study, especially with crossing guards on our agenda. We know we're going to don't think we've approved yet that we're going to close Copenhagen, but we know the crush comes seasonally for us, and that particular road is going to realize some big pressure over time with that project coming. So I'd ask again to do our own study for traffic there.
Thank you. Mr. Murphy?
To address the design guidelines, it's my understanding that it is slated to be heard by the Planning Commission on their July 6th meeting, I believe is the first Monday in July, and then it will come to the council probably at the meeting in August.
Does the DRC see it too? Do they review it, or are they
The
already
DR
have?
I don't believe it's going to DRC. I don't.
It's a
Raphael's been
design
out.
guidebook. But
Maybe it already has.
Okay.
I think
Let's
they've kind
check
of
on
vetted
that.
through it. Just kind of dotting i's and crossing t's and getting planning commission to review it. I'm almost positive it's going to their July meeting.
Just, yeah, move it toward the front burners. That's the hope. Okay, I'd like to, did you have anything else? On the 10th of June, I attended the sub-regional SCAG meeting. Most of that discussion was part 101 through Buellton and the closures of, those of you at Vega Vineyards know that the Santa Rosa roads off-ramps are closed. And then also they're getting bids and preparation for another passing lane on 246 west of Buellton before toward Lompoc. That was one item. There was another a Zoom meeting on the 17th I attended regarding the San Ynez Valley Trail with Supervisor Hartman and staff, and just kind of an update. I'm sorry, let me take that. Ms. Hartman wasn't there. It was with the SB SCAG team and their engineers. So, and they've given some updates on that and how that's moving along. Then there was on the same day, there was the San Ynez Valley Bike Advocacy Zoom call, talking about biking here in the valley and adding a couple of board advisors. On the 19th, I was at the California League of Cities in Ventura, where we represented Solvang. And it was interesting. Our Senator Pro Tem Monique Limon was there, gave some remarks, and had to leave right away because of the budget in Sacramento. So it was on her mind. But it's good to know that we have a good working relationship with Sacramento. And then today, this morning, or actually this afternoon, I gave some welcoming remarks to One West, which is a conference here in town as it relates to, I was invited by Shelby Sims of SYV, Visit SYV, and enjoyed the company and starting off their conference. And then I wanted to bring up it's been brought to my attention that there's been requests for public records that are captivating and costing our city a great deal of money, upwards of over $100,000 in the last quarter for staff and legal fees. And some of these are vague, some of them are, so I'd like to see if we could direct staff to, if there's some way to recoup some of these costs. That's a big, significant amount on a small city. And I hope that there's something that they can, something you can come up with on that regard. And then finally, I'm sorry, do you want to reply?
I was going to say there was an item, Congresswoman, or not Congress, sorry, Assemblywoman Pacheco had a bill in front of the legislature recently. I want to say 1281. I don't remember. That's the number for sure. Something like that, about being able to recoup some fees. Last I saw, it was still in the legislature. I'm not sure that any action will be taken on it before the end of the legislative year. But there is an effort at the state level. They recognize that some of these malicious and or onerous public records requests are taxing the local jurisdictions financially. The specific issues that Mayor Brown is talking about, two of them combined, just in attorney's fees for reviewing records is over $50,000. And then by the time you add staff review time, and it's easily double that number. So it can be quite problematic for these broad brush requests. So I shared that with him on my meeting last week, and I was going to include that in my staff report to you last time, but I forgot, so I apologize.
No worries. Then finally, I'd like to get the board's approval to get I'd like to add an amendment to the Code of Ethics that we passed last time. The amendment basically, because we use the words alleged and accusation or allegations, that would, if there's allegations or accusations that have been fabricated, false or malicious or malice, I would propose that that individual would also be in direct violation of said code of ethics. And I can't think of a reason why not, but I'm sorry, this is something I'd like to get agreement to bring back to the agenda.
Get my mic on. We wouldn't be able to take action on that this evening. You could request that
I'm requesting that we bring it back for such an amendment.
you want to bring back an item to revisit the ethics code. And at that point, you could propose,
Yes.
you could propose your suggested
That's
amendment.
correct.
So we need to get council majority
just-
agreement on whether to bring that back.
Just a nod, basically, is that I'm not making a motion, would that be acceptable to have something of that nature?
So you cannot make a decision as a body tonight
Okay.
on whether you would whether that particular amendment is appropriate.
No,
All you
just
can decide
bring
is
it back.
whether you want to bring it back to revisit the ethics
That's
code.
exactly what I wanted. And
Not sure I follow why, or what was the issue, but we were 4-1 on that, I thought. We were,
It was a afterthought after it was approved, and because I'd only seen it the day before, and I didn't have ideas that I'd like to bring back. So I was just asking for an amendment, or at least it's discussion. Whether or not we do it is not the point. I'd like to bring it back and see if that would be something that we could add.
I don't hear a rationale, Dave.
Yeah, I'm not understanding
Okay.
the reasoning for it.
I'll present it at some other time. Very well. We'll move. Is there anybody else have anything else to add tonight? Okay. We'll move on to consent items. Would you read that into the record, please?
Consent is for routine administrative city matters and is approved with one motion. These items are discussed only on the request of council members. Members of the public were afforded an opportunity to speak during the public communications portion of this agenda.
Thank you. Okay. I'd like to bring or pull item D, 6D, if I may. That'd be my request. I'd like to get some clarification on a couple of points. D as in David. D as in David, 6D, Delta.
Fine with that. So I'll make a motion to approve consent items 6A, B, C, E, and F. And I won't just make a comment. I asked a number of questions about the SYVT monthly report, and I just want to say the answers were quite thorough. Thank you for that. It was just educational as opposed to
Very.
accepting and receiving the data.
Very well.
I'll second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded to accept items and the consent items 6A, B, C, E, and F. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Infante.
Yes.
Councilmember Claudia Rona.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Yes.
Councilmember Elizabeth Rona.
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes,
Motion passes 5-0.
thank you. Okay, let's go to item 6D as in Delta. My concern on that was that it only it only represents or states the Veterans Building for security issues. as well as the crossing guards, but it doesn't mention anything about the Solvang Park. With the music festivals getting larger and the events that go on there, it's just as busy as the Veterans Building area, and I'd like to see if that is included in that contract or if it was specifically excluded. I just don't see it anywhere in this report.
It is not budgeted, but there is a little bit of room where we probably could potentially add it, but it hasn't been budgeted.
Okay, 'cause there are private individuals or companies that will rent the park, just like they will rent the Veterans Building.
So, yeah, when there is a special event and they are serving alcohol, this company does do security for Solvang Park
Right.
or in downtown Solvang.
In that example, though, we wouldn't necessarily fund, that wouldn't come out of our budget. It would come out of whoever's
We
planning
would
the
fund
event.
it.
But there's other events like the music in the park where alcohol is available for guests or groups that bring it. It's not for sale, but it doesn't mean it's not available. And it might be also from a traffic perspective. I'm just thinking as public safety.
Mm-hmm.
And if this contract would include potential,
It currently does not.
okay, what would it take to include it? Is that a whole new negotiation, or is that an
We just have
add-on?
we would have to rewrite the contract and budget, add it in the budget.
Very well, then
We have not anticipated that need. We can certainly talk to them and see if they would be willing to do that. It would be at that $35 an hour times however many hours times however many people. At this point, we've not needed it. And obviously, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, as they say, but
But
it comes
also-
at a cost.
Yeah, but it comes at a cost when we use it. It's cafeteria style, correct?
Yes.
If we have it, then we spend the money. If we don't, but this is our go-to vendor for that service. Okay.
Correct.
If it pleases the board, I would like to send it back to add that language to include the park.
Don't we, okay, so we hire these people because they're less expensive than the sheriff's department. But doesn't the sheriff also manage what would happen at the park?
Yeah, we could call 911 and they would respond.
Right. So I wouldn't have to have somebody there necessarily all the time and pay for that, but we can call sheriff and they'll show up and take care of things. I think that's what we've been handling, all right?
That's what we've been doing, basically, yes.
I mean, I was intending to go to the music in the park this past week, and when I drove by after the senior center dinner, there was no room.
There was no room.
But I'm just curious, have we had incidents where we think we need security or is this more like traffic control and parking help or
More than anything, it's a presence
a presence?
to
Wow.
prevent.
Is it?
something.
I've got the sense it was pretty happy, easy event. Is that not, we need some
thought
enforcement?
Exactly the same thing. I'm just, like I
Okay.
said, I'd rather be safe than sorry. So, and it wasn't included in the contract, and I said, why not? It should be, that property should be included, whether we use it or not, and how we use it, but that way we're not reinventing the wheel down the road. That was my thought.
So you're suggesting putting it in the contract, and if we decide at one of these Wednesday events that we want to have somebody, we bring them in?
Yeah,
But
whether
we
it's
don't do it for every Wednesday event?
I leave that to Parks and Recreation, but I didn't want people pay for the service now when they rent the hall. So if they rent the park, here's an option as well.
Right. So I think in this situation, we would charge the organization who is putting the event on. We would charge them, pass those fees on to them. So I think in this case, we probably need to be careful about that because that could put additional expenses on the chamber, unless council is suggesting that the city pays for that.
Could we try something, which is maybe notifying? I don't know what kind of communication we've had with sheriff, but the deputy on call for that particular evening, could we try to ask them to have an increased presence, not to distract from their patrol activity, but maybe they stop by 2 times in the evening and make sure they're visible.
Well, staff
Just
hasn't,
to try that first
staff
before we
hasn't
invoke more
requested
cost.
this. I was just wanting them to give you more reign, more latitude, if that was something that you might need. If it's something you think is, hey, the mayor's, he's on third base and there's 2 outs. So, it was just really because it wasn't included as a property that we control, so.
Right. Well, and they are here at Solvang Park. They are here for the tree lighting, and that's at Solvang Park. For, the Makers Market, and it is more expensive this year because we are anticipating them coming back for more events, like Makers Market or just busy downtown days. So, it's certainly not set as Solvang Park, but they can very much be in Solvang.
If it's not necessary, no problem. I just didn't want to exclude it or think that you didn't have the latitude for it. So I'll leave it to y'all. If it's fine the way this is the way you like it, I'm okay with it. But I just wanted to make sure that you had all you need for security purposes.
Might I suggest that the council go ahead and approve this agreement? We will talk to the contractor about being available more, and if necessary, we'll come back and amend the agreement at a future date.
Sorry, but is it fixed fee?
It's
'Cause it's for
35.
2 years, so I didn't think it was fixed fee.
It's not.
Okay, so you have a provision in here where the city manager, the additional tasks can be assigned.
Yeah.
So it doesn't sound like we require an amendment or an adjustment to the contract. It would imply you might have an additional cost if you go beyond all the scope that we had used to estimate the 150,000. But I think you have the ability to do what you need, or to do what the mayor's suggesting.
Right.
Correct. Yeah, it would just be an amendment for cost.
If necessary.
And we can certainly ask the sheriff.
Yeah, okay.
To help.
As long as it works for you guys. I didn't know why it was excluded, that's all. So, very well. I'll move to approve item 6D.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Infante.
Yes.
Councilmember Claudia Rona.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Yes.
Councilmember Elizabeth Rona.
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes,
Motion passes 5-0.
thank you. Okay, we're moving on. There are public hearings. Would you read that into the record, please, for 7A?
Public hearing to receive and file the local agency report on vacancies, recruitment, and retention efforts pursuant to Government Code Section 3502.3.
Thank you. Staff report, please.
All right. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, members of the public. Tonight, we will open and conduct the required public hearing and receive and file the city's annual report on job vacancies, recruitment efforts, hiring policies, hiring practices, and retention efforts. Government Code Section 3502.3 requires public agencies to report annually on vacancy rates, recruitment efforts, hiring practices, and retention efforts before adopting the adoption of the final budget. The purpose of the report is to promote transparency regarding public sector staffing levels and to provide an opportunity for employee organizations and the public to participate in the discussion. In 2025, the city had 3.5 vacancies. The city continues to use its standard hiring process, reviewing vacant positions, posting job screening applications, conducting interviews, and completing reference and background checks consistent with city policy. No policy, procedure, or recruitment practice changes were made that would negatively affect the city's ability to reduce or address the vacancies. The city provided notice to the Teamsters Local 986 Union regarding the public hearing tonight. The public hearing will satisfy the city's annual reporting requirement under the government code. And with that, I'll bring it back to council to open and conduct public hearing.
Thank you. Any questions of staff? Then I will open it to public hearing for this item. Any comments? I don't have any slips on this. Anybody on Zoom? Okay. Then I will close public comment for this hearing. And any further discussion here on the dais?
I'm just curious, retention rate is over 100%. What does that mean?
Yeah, that's because we, at the beginning of 2025, we had 23 employees, and at the end of 2025, we had 26 employees. So we had, the way the formula is calculated, it puts it over because we had more employees at the end of the year than we did the beginning of the year.
Okay, it's just interesting, so you just talk, it's just interesting, so he talks about the positions filled overall. It's not
Yes.
whether, people left the position and somebody new got
Yes.
hired. Okay.
Yeah.
I had the same question, Claudia, because anytime you have over 100%, it seems
Yes.
normally you read it as if you've more than doubled. So I had questions about, but as I understand it, we're reporting the data as it's being asked for in this AB 2561 format, correct? So
Correct, yes.
it's funky,
Right.
but
Yes.
Yeah.
it is.
And we actually had in 2024, I do believe the percentages were even higher because we hired more employees. And it's for a calendar year, not fiscal year.
Okay.
So over, whatever's over 100 represents our growth.
Yeah.
So it's 16% growth, really, is
Okay.
how to read it.
Good. All right. Then we will close the public hearing. There's no other discussion. And move on to item 7. Oh, we
Need a
need a
motion.
motion to accept the report? Very well.
I'll make a motion to receive and file the local agency report on vacancies, recruitment, and retention efforts.
I'll second it.
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve and adopt item 7A. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Infante.
Yes.
Councilmember Claudia Rona.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Yes.
Councilmember Elizabeth Rona.
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Would you read the next item, please, in 7B?
Public hearing to consider Resolution 26-1322, amending the appropriation limit for fiscal year 26-27 pursuant to Article 13B of the California Constitution.
Thank you. Staff report, please.
All right, this is another public hearing that you will open and consider adopting Resolution 20, the resolution which amends the city's appropriation limit, also known as the GAN limit, for fiscal years 26-27 as required by Article 13B of the California Constitution. Each year, the city is required to calculate and adopt its appropriation limit based on the changes in population and the cost of living. For fiscal year 26-27, the California Department of Finance reported a 4.95 increase in per capita personal income and a 1.04% decrease in Solvang's population, resulting in a growth factor of 1.0385852. The city's appropriation limit is $27,380,109 for 26-27. Based on the anticipated fiscal year 26-27 general fund revenues of approximately $13.9 million, the city remains well below the calculated appropriations limit. The supporting documentation was made available to the public 15 days prior to the meeting. And with that, I'll return it back to you to
Thank
open.
you. I would request for simplicity. Could you explain to us, everyone here, why is there an appropriation limit and how is the purpose for it? What's the why?
The why behind it keeps government agencies in check on their spending. So legally, we can't go over our appropriation limit. So the state, obviously, because of, I think it was the city of Orange or Bell or one of those cities that went financially under, they kept spending more money than what they brought in. And when you do that, you eventually deplete your reserves and then you have no money. So the state has mandated this regulation to hopefully prevent that.
Thank you. Any questions of staff?
And it is only for general fund. It's not for, you'll see in the budget presentation tonight that the all funds revenue, it's only for general fund.
Just general fund?
Yeah.
Thank you. Very well. We will now open it to public hearing, comments, and we'll start with in-person. I have a slip from Denise Alamine.
Hi, I'm Denise Elamine, and I am just a regular resident with, like I said, less than common sense. So this is for the public, and I'm the public, and I don't understand it. The appropriation limit general fund, I'm guessing that is how much we have to keep in the bank in order to not deplete all of our taxes or our money. And yes, it was the city of Bell that went zero, but we change, like we have on this agenda today, we change our budget. It looks like every city council meeting, we add something to the budget or we change it. So when we change the budget, when you add $1 million for a contractor, do we change the appropriation limit if it comes out the general fund? When we add, because I'm very confused, the contractors come back a lot asking for additional funds to complete a job, and where does that money come out of? Measure U is not that big. So all the money that comes out of the general fund that wasn't on the budget, proposed budget, and now is in the budget, the general fund, are we going to be moving the appropriation limit general fund? This is the first time I've ever seen this on the budget or the staff report. So I just need to know, do we change it if we get close, or do we not? So if maybe Wendy can explain that, that's where I'm lost.
Thank you. Do we have any other comments this evening, either online or here in the room? Okay, I will now close it to public comment and bring it back to the dais for conversations, for discussions, questions. Mr. Murphy, did you have a question, or do you want to add?
Yeah.
Pass it off to Wendy to answer that question.
Okay. We do not change the appropriation limit. We are required to do it based on the per capita personal income and the population change and then the growth factor. And so we have to adopt this annually, and we don't change it. And if our general fund expenses went up to $27 million, we would have no money in the general fund. That's it.
Thank you, I understand.
I was going to add, I believe this goes back to Prop 13. It was called the Jarvis-Gann Initiative, and this is called the Gann limit. So I assume it's related to that. I wasn't in public sector at that time. As a matter of fact, I was still in high school in 1978. So some of us weren't born yet. Right, I get that. So anyway, the point is that it's related to that. It's a way for and through that process to hold local government accountable. There was a limit set at that time. It gets inflated every year by whatever the factors are to do that math. And that gives us the maximum amount we can spend in any given year. As Wendy pointed out, this is done every year. There is a public hearing every year around this time, typically the second meeting in June, where we announce what the numbers are, what it goes up to. Highly unlikely that we would ever spend essentially double what we're budgeting in the general fund. And it will continue to go up every year. By the off chance we have some windfall and have several $1 million added to our revenue, and or we have a big project that needs to be done, we may get up close to that, but it's highly unlikely. And as Wendy pointed out, the numbers don't change. That limit is set for the entire fiscal year.
Thank you. And that, we're looking to adopt a 2-year budget, so this won't affect the second year.
No.
We'll have to
We
do it
have to-
again.
we have to
And this
do
is
it,
a statutory requirement of reporting.
Yes.
Constitutional even.
Even constitutional, okay. That's statutory still. All right. Then I will close the public hearing and ask the board if they make a motion to approve and file.
I'll make a motion, we approve and file.
I will second.
Actually, it's adopt the resolution.
Adopt the resolution? Okay.
Right.
You can do a friendly amendment if you.
Oh, this is,
You have a motion on the floor. I think I just heard a second.
You've got a second, yeah.
So we either
You need to amend
do it. We can either amend the motion, or we can vote on that one and
you-
then vote the correct one.
can you restate your motion, please?
Yeah, let's go back to this thing. No, I can't. This is just to approve the adoption of the amended appropriations limit.
Resolution 261322?
Yes.
Is that the one?
Yes.
Thank you.
I
Is
will-
there still a second?
I will second that.
Thank you. It's been properly moved and seconded to approve
Yeah.
Resolution 261322. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Infante,
Yes.
Councilmember Arona,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Elizabeth Arona.
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes,
Motion passes 5-0.
thank you. We will move on to discussion items 8A.
Discussion regarding registration and enforcement of intellectual property assets.
Thank you. Here's this one back. Here's this. I will dismiss myself, as I have in the past, to be consistent, as I have a proprietary property. So, thank you. It's all yours.
Got to make it official, right?
All right, so do we have a staff report?
Thank you, Member Smith. And yes, we do have the staff report. So this item of intellectual property, including copyright and trademark, and what the city would like to do with its intellectual property assets, has been before the council a few times now. Based on the direction we got, staff received at the last meeting, staff has engaged Matthew Smith, who's a shareholder at Pilsolini Law Firm, and he's the vice chair of its trademark, copyright, and branding practice group. We've brought him in as a copyright and trademark expert to provide you some additional information about this area of the law and answer your questions about what, basically give you an opportunity to ask the expert in the area of this area of law, so you can get a better handle and context on how the city's assets might be protected and whether that basically give you the right information you need to make an informed decision about what you want to do to move forward or not with protecting either registering or not the city's assets. So with that, I will hand it over to Randy and And Ma-
Don is with Matthew, right?
yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so we might want to unmute him in case he has something
Yes.
to say.
Thank you, Don, for joining as well. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate you both making the time.
So let's go ahead and put the slides up too when you get a chance, James. And Matt, take it away.
Thank you very much. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you, members of the council, esteemed guests, and member of the public. As mentioned, my name is Matthew Smith. I am the vice chair of the Trademark Advertising and Branding Group at Polzanelli. I'm joined by my colleague, Don Samuels, who is in our Denver office. Both Don and I are very experienced in advising cities and municipal organizations on intellectual property matters. Before I start my presentation, I just wanted to ask a quick question, Randy, of you and Chelsea. Is this an open meeting or closed meeting as it might relate to advice and guidance to the council?
We are in a public session right now, so it's an open meeting.
So I will give general guidance, and then if there are specific questions that the council might want to ask, we're certainly happy to answer those, but are mindful of attorney-client privilege issues. So with that, I will start my presentation. First slide, please. So we're going to talk generally today about trademarks, copyrights, and then discuss kind of generally some of the city questions and general Q&A related to intellectual property matters as it might affect municipalities, including Solvang, its logos, its slogans, and other things of that nature. Next slide, please. So trademarks can come in all shapes and sizes. This is an example of some, but really it is anything that acts as a source identifier to a particular organization. So if you're offering goods and or services that become associated with you, that would be considered a trademark. To be specific, it could be trademarks for goods and service marks for services, but it's kind of in the general parlance that everything is considered a trademark. Next slide. We're very familiar with cities as being source identifiers for their own trademarks as it relates to products and services. Don and I have represented the city of Beverly Hills, the city of Indio, the city of Santa Monica, and there are other examples here of trademarks that are associated with municipalities or cities. Next slide. So as I mentioned, technically trademarks are for goods, service marks are for services. Sometimes you'll hear the words trade name. Really all of that is just whatever slogan, name, logo, or combination of all of those things that point to a particular organization. Next slide. So trademark rights start as soon as you start using a trademark in commerce. The first in time will generally win. There are no requirements to file something before you're generating trademark rights. It depends on use. There is a differentiation between common law unregistered trademarks and registered trademarks, either at the federal or the state level. At common law, your rights extend to what you are using and where you are using it and on what goods and or services. So if the city of Solvang were to offer, let's say, tourism-related services, that's going to focus initially on the Solvang area or where we're advertising or where we're drawing people in from. It would not be nationwide. It would relate to where your reach generally is. Once you file and receive, if successful, a federal or state registration, that would either encompass the particular state in which you filed, such as California, or in the case of a federal trademark, you could have construction nationwide rights by virtue of receiving a trademark registration. We always recommend that clients consider clearing marks before using them to avoid any infringement claims. That might be the Danish capital of America, for example, something new that we would want to use, you'd want to make sure that someone else wasn't using it first. Next slide, please. So very generally, the trademark application and registration process is as follows. You would identify what marker marks that you wanted to use. That could include words, logos, or combinations. We generally recommend, it is not required, but generally recommended that they do some sort of trademark clearance, either to look for just exact matches or even beyond that to domain names, business names, social media handles, to see whether there's anyone else out there that might be using the same or similar marks as what you intend to adopt, because you could put yourself into an infringement circumstance. If the trademark search is clear or relatively clear, you could go through the application process either at the federal or state level. 99% of the time you would seek a federal trademark registration for the benefits that it affords. It's only if there were some significant challenges at the federal level that you might consider individual state filings. And then again, because trademark rights depend on continued use in commerce, there are renewal requirements either at the federal or state level that you have to comply with. The idea is that trademark rights should only last as long as the owner is using the mark in commerce. Next slide. As I mentioned, you don't have a duty to clear, but it is very good business practice for a number of reasons. It can reduce your risk. It gives you a better chance of registrability because you are able to see what the landscape is out there and avoid some issues, and then gives you a better chance for protectability based on the virtue of registration. There's also a timing issue, particularly at the federal level. Applications take roughly 8 to 9 months on average for an examiner to pick up the application to look at it for the first time. So there's a long lag time between when you file your trademark application and when it is first examined. It's better to kind of figure out some of those issues right away than have to wait that 8 or 9 months for the examiner to point issues out for you. So searches really do help manage risks and costs. And we have very few clients that don't care about risk and cost. So those are very helpful to spend a little money up front to determine whether you might have issues later on. Next slide, please. I won't read all of this, but a trademark application, you just need to know what the mark is, who's filing, and really two things. Is it based on intent to use or actual use? Intent to use is traditionally used where you know what your mark is, but you're not ready to use it, but you want to put your placeholder in for an application right away. This is very common for future events. Pharmaceutical companies do all this all the time, where they will file for a name and then the drug will catch up with it at a later date. Or we could have a mark that's already in use and you file based on actual use in commerce. As I mentioned, there's 8 to 9 month lag time for first examination. The entire process can take 12 to 18 months at the federal level to get a registration if we're successful. That doesn't mean you have to wait to use the mark, but it can take that period of time. The average cost is also mentioned here. Additional work may be required after filing if there are rejections or other issues that the Patent and Trademark Office or the applicable state agency might raise. Next slide. The two key issues for trademark applications really are likelihood of confusion or descriptiveness. Descriptiveness comes in a couple different forms, including geographic descriptiveness. Likelihood of confusion means that the marks look similar, the same as or similar to another mark that is already being used. And obviously, with the idea that you want to have trademarks be the unique source identifier of goods and services, the Patent and Trademark Office won't register things that are the same or confusingly similar to something else. On descriptiveness, the theory is that no one person should control what is a generic or descriptive term that extends to geographic locations. So, for example, a trademark application for the city of Solvang would likely be rejected for geographic descriptiveness because it is a place that is known generally, and one person or entity shouldn't control that, even if it is the municipality that is filing. And then on the other side, third parties do have a chance to oppose or cancel trademark applications or registrations if issued on basically the same grounds. Next slide, please. The benefits for trademark registration at the federal level: you can use the circle R symbol. You get constructive nationwide rights, which helps with enforcement. It eliminates the I didn't know or good faith junior user defense, and smooths over the issue of when your rights start, is your mark valid, all of those issues. It certainly benefits you if you're going to enforce your trademark rights through a cease and desist letter or other communication to have a registered trademark. And it certainly helps in litigation as well. Some of the damages that you might apply for would be infringers' profits, actual damages, or in some cases for willful infringement, attorney's fees, but those circumstances are generally pretty rare. In most cases, plaintiffs want the infringing activity to cease, and that is considered a good result, even if there are attorney's fees that are not recouped. In most cases, having the infringer stop their activity is where these things will end. At the state level, your rights are similar. It covers only the state in which you register, and you do not get the benefit of using the federal circle R symbols with your trademark. Next slide, please. Marks. This generally says that the marks need to continue to be used or you risk losing your trademark rights. So if they're registered, you need to use them as they are registered. If you have a design and you claim a particular color, you need to continue to use that in that particular color. You can't change your mark after it's registered. Otherwise, you may lose the ability to renew your marks when they come up for renewal. If you have unregistered marks or marks that are currently pending registration, you would use the TM or SM symbol, indicating that this is a trademark that the city would claim, and that diminishes the ability for someone to think that that is freely available to use. Using the appropriate trademark symbols can be a good hedge against the I didn't know defense. Next slide, please. We'll turn now to copyrights. Copyrights are rights conferred through the Constitution. It gives you the ability to protect any original works of authorship that are fixed in a tangible medium of expression. So that means anything that I write, a picture that I take, a song that I sing and record, all of those things that are actually fixed can be protected through copyright protection. It does not protect ideas. So if Don and I were to write the same book, a book about the Denver Broncos, for example, as long as I am not taking material that Don has written, we each can write our own book and is independently created, and there's no copyright infringement. The exclusive rights that you get with copyright is the ability to reproduce or make copies of your work. You can adapt it, distribute it, perform it, or display it. Copyright applications are generally pretty simple. It is an online form that is submitted to the United States Copyright Office, and the filing fees depend on the type of registration. So individual works at the present cost $45 to file. Group registrations, depending on the type, can cost less than $100 depending on the application type. And attorney's fees would be additional if utilized. It is rare that copyright applications are rejected, but additional fees would apply if there is a rejection and an expectation to submit a response based on that rejection. Next slide, please. Copyright duration lasts a very long time. For individual authors, currently it's life plus 70 years. Works made for hire or works made for the benefit of the employer is the shorter of 95 years from publication or 120 years from creation. Copyright duration is really a pit of quicksand when it comes to works created before 1978. So specific legal advice is generally required to determine when the works were published, what the law was at the time, and what copyright duration was granted under the specific law at the time. So works created before 1978 require additional special treatment. Next slide. There's no requirement to file anything to obtain copyright rights. Some people will tell you, oh, I print something out and mail it to myself, and that's what I need to do to prove my copyright. That's not even required. You don't even have to put a copyright notice on your work for it to be protected. It does have to be in a tangible form, and you are conferred those rights. However, it's best practices and often recommended that you put the circle C symbol denoting copyright, the date of publication, the author's name, and all rights reserved. That would be either the author name or the copyright claimant. So for example, if a city employee creates something within the scope of their employment, the copyright claimant would be the city of Solvang by operation of law. Next slide. It's protectable if it's in a tangible medium of expression, and it can be anything like the things that are mentioned on the left side of the slide. What is not protected generally is ideas, concepts, book titles, things that aren't in a tangible medium of expression. If I do an impromptu ballet, should I be so inclined, that would not be capable of copyright protection unless I wrote down the particular steps. And then anything created by the federal government, not state governments, but anything by the federal government would also not be capable of copyright protection. Next slide. As I mentioned briefly, the person who creates a work is not always the author. And in the case of the city, employees who make works in the scope of their employment, the city is the owner of those works. Next slide. I've touched on this briefly, but the advantages really for copyright registration. A copyright registration is required to bring a lawsuit in federal court for infringement. So it's really the key to federal court. The other big benefit is statutory damages. So if works are created prior to infringement, created and protected prior to infringement, you can access statutory damages, which range from $150 to $150,000. The law essentially presumes you have been harmed, and then it is a question of how much you have been harmed. If the infringement occurs prior to registration, you're limited to actual damages, and you would need to prove those damages. It is still possible, but becomes a little more arduous and a little bit more involved. Next slide, please. Common questions often run the gamut, including, can I use someone else's material? If it's out there or available, I can't find the owner, we're only using a little bit, it's fair use. How do we address those issues? Next slide. Or we have the innocent infringer defense. I didn't know that it was copyrighted. I shouldn't be liable because nobody told me it was not appropriate. That innocent infringement, the fair use issue, that may affect damages, but generally will not insulate you from infringement claims. Fair use is a defense which needs to be proven. It is not a shield to prevent suits. Next slide, please. I won't read this, but what I will say generally is get permission before using third-party materials. Do not assume anything is free unless it is explicitly denoted as such, or you have explicit permission to use materials. Next slide. Only if works are in the public domain. Works created before 1923 are in the public domain now and could be freely used. Forms that have no originality, U.S. government works, facts, ideas, or concepts, those things you don't need permission. Anything else, you should. And when in doubt, always assume you need permission. Next slide. Finding permission is not easy in some cases because there's not necessarily a clearinghouse for all things. So some investigation may go into finding the appropriate person to ask for permission. You try to find the owner of work and get explicit permission, or you might buy a license through a stock photo agency, obtain an ASCAP license for the use of music. Implied permission, this may be a circumstance where we have a personal relationship with a party and they send us a work and say, hey, go ahead and use this. So we've got an expectation that there's permission. That is not the best generally, but possible. And then only when you've obtained legal guidance should you consider using a fair use defense, where we pretty much fall pretty squarely into the categories of non-commercial use that doesn't take the substantial portion of the work and would be available. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, you look at what you're using, how much you're using, and what the effect is for the original work before considering using fair use. Next slide, please. It is best for organizations to establish a written policy for copyright clearance. Some guidelines on investigating ownership, keeping those records once you have completed the investigation, ensuring that your permission or your license matches the use that you make of it. So you want to document what you found, where you're using it, and what you're relying on for your permission. Next slide, please. So we received a number of questions from the city through Chelsea and Randy that I wanted to try to address. In terms of what city assets could be protected, there are a number of things. That could be the entire website could be protected under copyright protection. The Danish capital of America could be considered for trademark protection. The windmill logo could be a logo that would function as a trademark. So there are a number of assets that potentially could qualify for either trademark and or copyright protection. In some cases, such as the logo, you might consider both. That is a determination for the city to make based on what assets you have, who is the owner of those assets, and what expectation is to use them over a period of time. So, for example, if you have a name of a festival that is going to run for 1 year, it's probably not worth the time and effort and expense to file a trademark application for it because it has a very limited use. If it's a festival that's run for 10 or 15 years is going to run into the future, has a particular name or logo, that would be something where you would want to consider trademark protection. Logos that will be used over a long period of time, those could be copyrighted for the particular design, and then also may function as a trademark as well. So it would be incumbent upon the city to kind of determine what we have currently and what we intend to use for a longer period of time in the future, and then make some determinations about trademark and or copyright protections. In terms of enforcement efforts, as I mentioned earlier in my presentation, the general cadence of those, either in the trademark infringement or copyright infringement side, would be handled by a cease and desist letter. Generally, the cadence would be from the city first, the city's attorneys, including outside counsel, prior to any litigation if necessary. But typically, it is a cease and desist letter sent to the alleged infringer, highlighting the infringing use, highlighting the city's rights, and then demanding that action cease promptly. The enforcement costs really depend greatly on the nature of the enforcement. Cease and desist letters are generally done in routine course and are not very expensive. There is a big jump between letters and actual litigation. So we try and work things out rather than immediately leap to litigation based on the budgets that can be involved. In terms of licensing, the city can basically set whatever licensing terms they want and whatever conditions or whatever requirements. Trademark owners are required to police their marks and ensure that they're used consistently or risk losing those rights. So having some quality control or oversight provisions in the license agreement would be appropriate. You can use our trademarks for this use, for this period of time. You need to submit specimens for us to review. All of those things the city can set and should set with any licensee. In terms of a fee structure, the city's also able to set whatever license fee or payment requirements that they would like. There's really not any specific statutory guidance on this. So it could be a one-time license fee. It could be an annual fee. Could be a per unit, per widget fee if it's goods. Really, whatever the market will bear would be permissible for the city to charge. Next slide, please. Two possible trademarks might be the windmill logo, depending on how the city has rights to the windmill logo, and then also the Danish Capital of America slogan. And some of these questions came from Chelsea and Randy. So does the city use the Danish Capital of America in commerce based on its tourism and promotion if the slogan is not affixed to merchandise? Yes, you can have service-based trademarks. You're not limited to goods-based trademarks. So, and even applications could include services and goods at the same time. So T-shirts, mugs, glassware, along with tourism services, those could all be captured under a single trademark application. On the second question, do tourism, marketing, education, et cetera, qualify as use in commerce? Yes, they certainly could. Those services certainly could qualify for trademark protection. There are service-based classes that would cover those things. The specific question related to Class 35, which would generally be denoted as business services, or Class 41 tourism services, you could potentially qualify for either or both. In terms of what specimens that you are required to submit to show use in commerce with a trademark application or a renewal of a registration, that depends on what the trademark applicate or registration identifies. So if it's T-shirts, you'd need to submit a picture of those. If it's tourism, we would submit brochures or a website. So really, the nature of the goods and or services that are identified in an application or a registration would inform what kinds of specimens that we would be required to submit. And we certainly could offer specific guidance on what specimens might be appropriate. Is the slogan Danish Capital of America unique or distinct enough for protection, or is it primarily geographically descriptive? It's very difficult to say, 100% in terms of whether the Patent and Trademark Office would accept that as a trademark application or not. I would certainly expect that there would be a geographic descriptiveness rejection based on the words Danish and America. So it would be, in my estimation, a more high-risk application and more likely to be initially refused than a fanciful or a made-up word. And then the risks, I just mentioned the risks for denial. The ultimate risk for denial is that the application is unsuccessful. And some people will ask, does that mean I have to change my name or quit using my trademark? And the answer is no. The Patent and Trademark Office is only determining whether a trademark can be registered or not. It is not making a determination about whether you need to change your name or cease using a mark altogether. In the case that your client is ultimately unsuccessful in obtaining a federal trademark registration, you would rely on common law rights. And then, is the slogan in the absence of a graphic or other design trademarkable? Yes. The more unique elements that you have in a trademark, the better chance you have of success. So in this case, the combination of the windmill logo, if that is owned by the city, and the words Danish Capital of America would have a greater chance of success over either element by itself. That's not to say that we would be guaranteed any level of success, but the more unique elements you have, you do increase your chances of success. And does the city need to register each mark for each class separately? And I've answered that as no. You can have multiple classes of goods and services in a single application. And that is often done for cost savings. Last slide, please. I've talked a whole bunch, and I appreciate your time and attention to this matter. Please let me know if there are any questions that we can answer.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. That was very thorough. Really appreciate it. So I'll bring it back to the council. Any questions for our presenter?
I do have a question. When it comes to protecting material, not so much logos, but let's just say pictures and videos. Most people have access to technology through artificial intelligence that allows users to modify, edit pictures. Where is where does one draw the line between an original work that is being used without permissions versus work becoming an entirely new work that is not protected?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. So, yeah, the city photos or videos would be capable of copyright protection in the name of the city. And one of the exclusive rights that the city would have is the right to distribute and or modify those works for itself. So a third party taking those works and modifying them could be subject to a claim of copyright infringement for the unauthorized taking of those. At a certain point, the use of the third-party use of the image or video may be so transformative that it becomes fair use. but more minor modifications and or selective editing may not be. So it's difficult to say hypothetically that one thing is always okay or one thing is never okay, but we would certainly evaluate what the third-party use of the city materials would be and then determine whether further action would be warranted.
Okay, so at this point, there is no precedent that would tell us at what point a judge would say, this is an entirely new project, or, if you apply certain filtered or if you edited enough, there's no certain way to know where
that is correct. There are no bright line tests to say 2 changes is okay, but 3 changes is not. There's not a test or a guidance out there related to that.
Okay, we would have to go to court and spend the money to find that out.
I would say the first thing we would consider doing is evaluate whether action is appropriate, and action is not always appropriate. But if it is, we would recommend generally a cease and desist letter first, versus going directly to litigation.
Thank you.
I'll give you a couple comments on that. One of the rights in copyright there, the one most people think about is copying, but there are 5 rights that are associated with copyright infringement, one of which is derivative works. And so one of the rights you have as a copyright owner is to create derivative works. So that's one observation of kind of your legal rights. And in terms of Matt's point, there's a lot of distance between just monitoring and protecting your rights with a cease and desist letter and full-fledged litigation. And so one of the things that practically happens in these matters is you send a letter to somebody in the case you've just raised, and you say, look you've used too much of our work, and sometimes they'll agree to cut back what they use, to reduce what they use, reduce where they use it, etc. So it's a multi-stage process that, as Matt suggested, can start off fairly simply. And a lot of times folks may not know that they're violating copyright laws because it was on your website, and so they think it's fair use, and they're using that term generically in their heads, that, hey, it's on the website so I can use it. Or they may then consult with an attorney and limit how they use it, where they use it, et cetera. So there are a lot of steps in between once you recognize or express a concern in protecting your rights.
Thank you.
Thank you, Don.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I may. I was just looking at, we have a marketing website. It's called solvangusa.com. And it has, as you scroll through the screen, a number of ways to go into events, hotels, all kinds of things. I haven't spent the time to look at each individual one, but I had to scroll all the way to the bottom of a very large page of fascinating information to see that it says copyright, visit Solvang, California 2026, all rights reserved. Does that mean that everything on this website is copyrighted?
So I think what it would mean to the average observer is that the entire website is the city of Solvang's. Now, that depends on Solvang having cleared and obtained the right or the permission to use all of the images on the website. In some cases, we've taken those photos, that would be city materials, but in some cases, third parties may have submitted these for use, or we may have sourced them from other sources. So that's what that's what some of my comments related to copyright clearance were directed to. We would want to make sure that we have either the right through ownership or the right through license to use all of these materials. And the copyright notice at the bottom would cover all of the city's ownership rights.
Thank you.
Can I just clarify here? I want to ask first of all, appreciate that the experts are brought into the conversation to guide us through this. Thank you so much. On that point, The website is in fact a work for hire. We actually have built a website under contract that specifically says, embedded in the contract, the content created is the city's intellectual property. And I'll just underscore, when we hire something for contract, we are spending the public's money, which is really the root of what we're trying to solve here. But I'll ask the question then simply, without regard to who created or how that content came to us, our contractor is obligated to verify or manage the content. Once it's provided and it's published as a go live on our .com website, it is our intellectual property. Is that correct?
I probably can speak to that hypothetically, but that might be something that the city's attorneys would be able to speak to specifically.
Well, I'll say even more surgically. We do have content that has been crowdsourced or created by perhaps influencers. The issue is not just that we've spent public money, but we have a situation where that content has been copied and pasted into another application for private benefit. And that's what we want to ensure does not happen.
So I'll start by saying it is best practices when dealing with vendors or contractors to have strong intellectual property ownership transfer provisions, so that anything created for the benefit of the city is then transferred to and owned by the city. If the vendor sources third-party materials, they should be procuring the appropriate licenses or transfer of rights that they can then give the city either full ownership in those images or ensure that they have the permission to use them for the purposes that the city would like to make. When it comes to third-party crowdsourced images or images that are submitted to the city, it should be done under a mechanism where the parties are at least granting the city the right to use those images for the city's own marketing purposes. That would be the most protective of the city, or that would be our general guidance.
Understood. So I think I'm going to play it back and see if we can verify. So it's the contractor's obligation, once they publish to our website and turn it over to our use, it's their obligation to ensure that they have the right to transfer to us any material published on our website.
It would be important to put that obligation into the agreement.
Okay, fair enough.
The contractor is guaranteeing that they have the rights, either the ownership, transfer the ownership rights, or the permissions for the city to make use of those materials.
I don't think the contractor has ever not been forthright with us, where they get their content, how it's being procured. But I think it's, given that we're in this dialogue, we should do the proper audit of the contracts, not just the one where we do receive content from other places or have IP rights in those contracts and we're doing work for hire. And then, the material is digitally available for copy and paste risk. So I think we need to do that audit and make sure once we drive into policy or make some decisions on copyright and trademarks, we need to make sure our contractors all understand what we're obligating them to.
Okay, but aren't those two different issues? Because we're talking about other third parties using our, city-owned material versus ensuring that the people that create the material that the city hires them to have the permission to do that. Those are two.
I think, they are. But I think what I'm just simply saying is the city has the expectation that we can enforce, and we're not spending public money for just to put it online so everybody else can use it. There's a communication of expectation. We have the rights to this, and we will enforce it.
If I can just add, in our current professional services template, it includes language that says any of the work product or writings, recordings, drawings, et cetera, that are created under the contract are the property of the city, so we own it if they create it for us, and that the consultant is agreeing to vest those rights into the city. So there's that already in there, protecting, but what won't happen is if our, TJA sources something, uses somebody else's image, just by them putting it on our website pursuant to our contract, that doesn't make us own it if we didn't purchase it from, if they licensed an image and put it on our website, just because they're doing it under our contract doesn't make it our copyright all of a sudden. Like, we would have to get ownership of that. Anything that they're creating originally, like if they go hire a photographer, make some photos and put them on our website, that's going to be the city ownership because they're doing it pursuant to our contract.
Okay, you just contradicted yourself as far as, you just contradicted the language in our contract. I don't understand how, okay, they could transfer the rights to us, but then we would know that. We would know that like an image.
If somebody else,
Picture of Mickey Mouse shows up on our website, they would have done the job of securing the right to.
Here's a more concrete example. If a local photographer has a photo of one of the windmills in Solvang, and TJA says, hey, we really like that photo. We'd like to license the use of it on the city's website. They sign a contract with that photographer, and they use it on the city's website. The city does not own that image. We are licensing it.
Agree, but they would tell us that we're licensing it. Would we know? How would we become aware?
I don't know that we're requiring them under the contract to tell us when they're licensing versus owning, but
If I may, my colleague had a comment.
yeah, please.
I just, a couple things. One, the contract should have an indemnification provision in it. And the way it normally works is the party that's providing the service to you and doing the work for hire will represent and warrant that it either owns or has licenses for all of the intellectual property that's being transferred to you, sold to you, that you're purchasing. And they should have an indemnification provision that if anybody sues you for copyright infringement for something that they provided to you, that they will defend and indemnify you. And so you may not, to answer your question, you may not directly know that a particular picture, whether they have the license or not, but they should be representing and warranting that all the intellectual property rights that they are providing to you, they either created or have the right to use it. And so that's, I think that may answer your question.
Okay, it does, because then the enforcement obligation is not necessarily ours. It's the third party who's provided the license.
So so when you say enforcement, there's offense and defense. So that if the owner of the photograph of the windmill sees it on your website, there's no license, and sues you for copyright infringement because you are publishing it and it's its copyright, then you have potential liability, which is why you want an indemnification clause with the vendor who's provided it to you and represented that you own it. The next thing when you talk about enforcement is you have your website that you've created either directly or indirectly through a third party, and somebody without your permission uses something from that website, then you can affirmatively sue them or threaten to sue them or send a cease and desist letter for copyright infringement because they are using your intellectual property. Make sense?
Yes, I think I'm going to speak for all of us. I think we had a conversation on this before, so I'm going to try to keep it back, bring it back to something more simple. We do not necessarily have a motivation to be in the business of policing every picture on our website or its license entitlements and so forth. What I think we might want to do, we should discuss it, is bundle up our website, as you've pointed out in the slide deck, and suggest that since it is public money, and we do have at least one example where it's been copied and pasted for private use, that we want to protect or at least copyright or think through how do we put ourselves in position to enforce just the website. And that way we just think of it as a bundle. I think you called it something else. I can't remember the phrase. Class, I think, is what you called it. And that way we protect what is truly our work for hire, and the rest of our contract language does the rest of the work for us. You're nodding. Is that the best way to think about it?
I think generally, if we have had issues with someone essentially copying and pasting our website, we should look at what elements of the website are owned by the city that we can protect under a copyright registration. That will require some auditing of the website because not every element of the website is owned by the city. So there may be third-party materials that are licensed to the city, which we would have to disclaim from any copyright applications that we might make. But generally speaking, one or more copyright applications to protect the website would likely be the most appropriate course of action to address the specific instance you're referring to.
Okay, one more. I'm going to go back and let you answer your questions because I had a few. Just one more thing.
Always.
Sorry. No, I lost my question. I'll come back to it. Go ahead, because I have a couple more.
I do have a question regarding to enforcement, because my understanding is that, yes, you can register your material, and you will have the right to not only send a cease and desist letter, but also sue, for copyright infringement. But I also understand that you have to actively be policing it, or else you lose the right to protect that. Because obviously you want to be able to take legal action if you need to, but does that come at the expense of having to constantly be policing it all the time, just for the case when you do want to do something about it?
Yeah, let me speak to that generally. So policing your trademark is probably more of a trademark concept than a copyright concept. And it is generally known that trademark owners do have an obligation to police their marks against third-party infringing use. But that does not mean we need to tilt at, for lack of a better example, every windmill that is out there and constantly send cease and desist letters. That is not what the law generally says. So you evaluate on a case-by-case basis, what is the infringement? How egregious is it? When should we take action? So the city would generally have to consider taking some action, but is not required to take every action in order to maintain its rights. So it is something that would be determined with council, but the city does have to engage in some enforcement activity. It can not relegate that to whomever and whenever someone might use the trademarks. On the copyright side, just very briefly, and Don, I'll let you, and then I'll.
No, I think you're about to hit the point, and it's very important.
So for copyrights, that's really not as much of an issue, or less of an issue. You look at, how egregious is the use of the copyrighted image before you might take action. And we generally try to counsel clients to evaluate how much infringement is and what the cost of enforcement might be. Sometimes it is more trouble than it's worth for the benefit. So we don't counsel that you send a letter every time, but we will evaluate when letters might be appropriate. Don, I'll turn to you.
Just to reemphasize what you said, the distinction, which for a layperson is not intuitive, is the difference between trademark rights and copyrights. And for trademarks, there's more of an affirmative obligation to police it and potentially lose it, and that's just a byproduct of the law. Whereas for copyright, as you said, depending on when it was copyrighted, your rights last for 70 years, 100 years, etc., and you can generally choose to pursue that or not pursue that without coming across a waiver argument. So it's important to understand what rights, the source of the rights that are being protected. And on the website, if it's pictures or images or videos or interviews, those are probably more copyrights. Whereas if it's names or logos or things like that, even if it appears on your website, the source of that is trademarks. What a trademark does is it identifies source. So if you're showing a picture, and Matt mentioned this, of the windmill, it can both be a copyright because you own the actual image, and it can also be a trademark because it indicates source or affiliation that windmill is associated with the city of Solvang. And so you have different obligations depending on the rights that you are defending or prosecuting. Does that clarify a little bit? It's right along what Matt was saying, but the difference, and it's not intuitive for a non-lawyer, is the difference between trademark rights and copyrights.
I believe Mr. Murphy has a comment to make.
A couple of things I want to say and a question to ask our intellectual property attorneys. The statement I wanted to make was to clarify. I've had several conversations with our marketing consultant, and he has assured me every time I've spoken to him that they get releases and or permissions from the originators of the work. They don't do work, they don't publish any of that work on our website if they don't have clear and authorization, licensing rights, whatever, in perpetuity. So it's I was just talking with him earlier today about a jurisdiction that has a limited duration and how difficult that is because you got to clean your website out all the time those things come up. So the question I have for Matt and or Don, Councilmember Infante pointed out, you scroll all the way down to the bottom of our page, and it says copyright, Solvang, all rights reserved. Right. Is that sufficient to protect the information on the website should somebody actually infringe or use information? And one instance we had here that's been referred to a couple of times, we didn't need a C&D. We just said, hey, that's not right, and it was taken down. So curiosity more than anything, helping us understand. Because we have that copyright, all rights reserved on the website, should an incident happen in the future, what protections would going through the effort of copywriting through the office have versus just having that statement at the bottom where we say we have all rights reserved, and then assuming somebody was not willing to comply with the C&D, and we did have to go through litigation, would there be an advantage over one over the other since it is already protected in that sense?
Yeah, so boy, a lot of questions, and I'll try and answer them all and let me know if I don't. So I think right now the website has a sufficient trademark notice or copyright notice. So I would not change anything on the website currently. What that does is set the city up to claim copyright rights in the website should there be infringement that occurs. If the city wants to go beyond a cease and desist letter and to litigate, you would have to take the step of registering the website as a copyright prior to litigation. As I mentioned in my presentation, a copyright registration is the key to get into federal court, so that would be a requirement. The second benefit of having a registration prior to infringement is the access to statutory damages and attorney's fees. If the infringement occurs before registration, you're limited to actual damages, and only in the cases of willful infringement, which is a rather high bar, would you might be able to increase those damages and or claim attorney's fees. So it is certainly to the benefit to the city to take the additional step to file one or more copyright applications as a hedge against further or future enforcement because of the benefits those registrations afford.
One more thing, if I may. I keep hearing you use the term "our website." And the interesting part about that is, although we own this website, that's a marketing website. That's not the website for the city. And I just went to the website for the city, and it doesn't have any copyright on it at all. And we've got pictures and things all over this website. So from a city council staff point of view, I think we need to pay a little bit more attention. I know we're going to be doing an upgrade to our website here shortly. But that this website says government websites by Civics Plus. That's all it says at the bottom. There's no copyright, there's no restrictions, there's nothing. I think we need to address that.
I would like to interject one thing and to say that the Copyright Act does not require that notice to appear. And the absence of that notice does not eliminate the ability for the city to claim copyright rights in the website. However, it is best practices or would be considered best practices to have that notice appear.
Yeah, thank you.
And is it best practice to, and I'll go back to, you introduced your credentials as having represented the city of Indio and Beverly Hills and Santa Monica. Is it really best practice for these public entities who are making investments in material to either promote the city or promote tourism? Is it a best practice? Would you recommend us actively copywriting the website as its own class?
Yes, that would be the recommendation, is for the city to look at the assets that it has and make a determination about what materials are so important to the city and so widely used that copyright and or trademark protection might be appropriate.
So just to clarify your question, you said copyright and, register, but they're two different concepts. You tend to register for trademarks, and that's normally a first step in a licensing program. So if you're going to be selling merchandise or services and you don't want other people to use those names or to put, the windmill on a t-shirt or on a mug, or represent that they're providing tourism services for the city, that's trademark protection. And so that needs to be, as Matt was saying, doesn't need to be, but ideally registered at the federal level under the Lanham Act. Separate and apart from that, the website is more focused on images and copyright protection, and that's an easier procedure. So part of it is trying to figure out what rights you want to protect, what rights you want to exploit, and for what purposes, and then you figure out cost-benefit analysis, whether it makes sense to undertake the legal effort and time to protect those rights. Does that make some sense?
Yes. Yeah. Appreciate that.
Any other comments?
I had a couple more quick questions. Back on copyright, in the slides when you outlined that what exclusive rights copywriting gives us, I noticed that it wasn't listed the opportunity to grant permission to use. I assume that would be
Yes.
only available to us if we actually went through the process of filing. Your shake.
No, I would say anything the city has rights to, any copyrights you can license to a third party. So you could grant any or all of those exclusive rights to a third party under license.
And that would be policy, but not the formality of filing for copyright.
That is outside. That
Okay.
is outside the consideration of whether to register something or not. You may always license your intellectual property rights to third parties, registered or unregistered.
I think we need that as a policy, though, because in the absence of that, if we were to go down the path of, saying we are going to assert a right to enforce, then we should also have the ability, a policy or some conditions by which we would say, if you're going to promote this for the 4th of July parade, we concur or we approve. Yeah. I guess that's to the council.
The licensing you're contemplating is both under trademark and copyright. And so you just need to be thoughtful as to what you're licensing. So again, if it's name or images or things that the consumer would think of the city of Solvang, that's more trademark and service mark. And if it's images, that's more copyright. And what gets confusing, again, I think to the layperson, is this whole concept of registration. Copyrights, as Matt said in his presentation, you own it if it's original work of authorship reduced to some tangible form. That's a copyright, okay, whether it has a notice on it or not. If you write, a book or a message or an email or take a picture and it's something you've done, you own that copyright. And this whole thing about registration and notice is how you enforce those rights. So as Matt was saying, the ticket to federal court, in order to actually file a lawsuit for copyright infringement, one of the requirements is it be registered. It can be registered after the fact. I mean, you could be writing a diary, your personal diary that nobody sees, has no notices in it. It's not registered, but it's still copyright. It's still copyrighted by you when you wrote it. Now, if you wanted to exploit it and somebody copied it, broke into your room and copied your diary, you couldn't sue them until you registered that diary in federal court. And as Matt was pointing out, if you register it after the fact, it's going to limit some of the damages you can get, but it doesn't prevent you from doing it. And it answers your question about licensing. If you had your private diary and you wanted to license somebody to make a 30-second thing on whatever, on one of the social medias, you could do that. And you don't have to have registered it. You don't have to have done anything. You can just say, hey, I hereby grant you the right to do a 30-second thing on TikTok based on my diary. And that's a license and you can do that. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
All right, everyone good up here? Okay, we're going to go to public comment. I do have a slip here, Denise Elamine, but I believe she's left. So that's the only one I'm aware of having up here. Anyone in the audience? Anyone on Zoom? Nope, okay. All right. So bring it back here. So right now you just need direction from us for how to proceed, correct? You don't need a motion?
That's correct. If staff's looking for direction on if you would like us to do further research and or engage in a further analysis of our assets. I mean, again, we like Matt is saying, to figure out what is really able to be registered is going to take some forensic research of the website, because we'd have to confirm whether we're licensing it from an particular image or something is being licensed versus something that we own by contract or by purchase. But that's kind of the direction we want to hear from you, if you want us to go forth and do that, or if at this point you're
I don't think that would
another
be very
way.
much forensic, Chelsea, really. Is it because you just go get from TJA what they've licensed, then we know what's in our content management system, and we say everything in the website is copyrighted? Simple. Let's keep it simple.
Sure. I mean, I wasn't trying to imply it was going to take forever, I guess. Point being is we can't tell you at this moment what
Understood.
is, I don't have a checklist for you saying copyright this, don't copyright that. And I think based on, there's other factors too, based on whether it's something, for example, if it's an image, if it's something the city's going to use for the year, it might not make sense. But if it's something that, hey, TGA thinks this is going to be something they plan to have on the website for a while, that might make more sense. So there's a couple factors that Matt was talking about that might go into the decision, and preparing that for the council's consideration would take some time, staff would have to go through that effort. Other policy considerations might be, how much to use cease and desist letters, or if we want to come back with a policy on licensing, like you're saying, and have more formal things like that.
You're making me ask this question. So if, let's say, the video that we had that was copied and pasted into the mayor's app, if we had another new video that was created and added to the website after we copyrighted the bundle, are we saying it wouldn't be copyrighted anymore because it was not included in our registration process?
Well, it's all,
Matt,
everything
don't
has
register the
copyrights. You don't, yeah.
Exactly.
Well,
So
but
if it's-
I think maybe Matt can jump in, but my understanding is if it's a new video, we can't register the website and all future things we're going to add to it, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. The copyright application would cover the materials, the deposit materials that we send to the Copyright Office. So it is a retrospective look at essentially a snapshot in time of the website. If there is new material added to the website after the copyright application is filed, that would fall under common law copyright protection and not under the registration. So for example, Microsoft periodically files new copyright applications for new developments of Word or Office or Excel or others to cover the new material that has been added since the last time the copyright application was filed. So they're building a family of copyright registrations to cover the most current version of the software. In the case of the city of Solvang, you would need to do the same things. As new things were added, maybe on an annual basis or semi-annual basis or whatever is determined, new applications would need to be filed to cover new material.
What is common law copyright protection?
Common law copyright protection exists as soon as the work is fixed in a tangible medium of expression. As soon as the video is created and transferred to the city, we have copyright rights in it. We can license it to third parties. We can use it how we see fit. It's our material. It is the registration aspect, again, addresses the keys to federal court if litigation is desired, and the type of damages that we might be able to claim for infringement activity.
Okay. I think that last bit answered it.
Yeah.
So I don't think anyone's here to try to make money from a lawsuit. That's not our motivation. It's to protect the public purse and the rights associated with the way we spend the money, and making sure that the city is not being either misrepresented or falsely endorsing someone's private business. That's it. I mean, I don't think we're in the business of either, policing everything or in the business of trying to chase ambulances to shake down some loose change. That's not what we're trying to do. So we can do very lightweight, simple copyright of a point in time of the website.
Yep.
It signals intent, and that we, are motivated to protect, what we create and our contracts, and that's it. Maybe we do it once a year, or we do it as needed.
I agree. I completely agree.
If I might offer a suggestion. So we really look at this kind of as a bundle of rights, and put together as many individual rights as possible to create a holistic approach to intellectual property. So that might be appropriate use of trademark symbols, appropriate use of copyright notices. On a website, terms and conditions to say that all of the material on this website are owned by the city or controlled by the city, and no third-party use is permitted. And then look at certain trademark applications and or copyright applications. So there are a number of steps the city can take along the way to signal to any third party that unauthorized use of city materials is prohibited.
Okay, that sounds like something we add to our language at the bottom of the website, right?
Yep.
Okay, I think we can give them that direction, easy.
Yeah, just add.
Yep, and put it, make sure we have it at the bottom like we do on the other website.
Yeah.
It's
And
copyright.
do this,
right,
you made the
date,
point, Mark, we
all
do it
things
for both
reserved,
versions,
and we're
the
done.
the gov and the US, Solvang USA,
Yep.
public facing. Okay.
Have you guys thought about content in the website that might be user generated? Because I believe we do that. They do my use carousels featuring, say, pictures on Instagram that are
Yep.
produced by other people.
But that's back to what TJA does and make sure that the license is covered before they use it. We don't use that on our website today, I don't believe.
They do that. They
we?
do post user generated content, but again, those are two different issues. That is, we're not talking about the city using assets that we don't have the right to use. We're talking about other people using assets that belong to the city. So I think making it clear that we reserve the rights to use this, and also taking action, sending letters, cease of disease, if it's appropriate. Yeah, absolutely. I think the city should do that. But we're talking about protecting the public purse, and part of protecting the public purse is not adding more contracts or using public funds to things that might not benefit the city or might not be a good use of funds. I'm all for notices and, engaging with people that are using the material inappropriately, but I don't think that we would necessarily benefit from periodically registering, say, the website as it is, especially when it does have content that might not necessarily be ours. It might just be featured in the website. And the only reason why this came up is because of the implication that material is being used inappropriately. Say, the mayor is using material that was created using public funds for personal gain, and we have other tools to make sure that that doesn't happen. We just updated our code of ethics. We can't take action when somebody uses city property inappropriately. So
That's for us. But hey, imagine if this was yet a true third party. I mean, that would be a problem. That could become a serious problem for us.
it becomes a serious problem that somebody takes a picture on our website and posts it on their website.
I think it is far afield to imagine that someone would be, harmful in their use. I think most people feel good about Solvang, but it is a scenario that we should consider because we've proven it's easy to do. And I think now we've got a point in time where we have to decide, do we protect the city's assets or not? We haven't had the most negative scenario, but it's possible. And now, what do we decide? Do we protect it or not?
So maybe we're giving instruction just to do a shallow dive, not do a deep dive with this?
Well, we've already spent a lot of. How much time have you spent, Chelsea, looking into this?
I can get you a tabulation, but it's between all the different meetings, it's a good amount
a lot.
Yeah, like we've already spent a lot of staff time, legal fees. We're engaging consultants now on this thing.
Good.
We can't
But
keep
that's
telling
good.
the
So,
staff.
I'm not telling you to do anything more, but now, if we pull back now, we would have wasted all that time.
I don't know. That's up to. That's up for interpretation. What I'm saying is that we've been telling them to do a soft dive. We've already spent a lot of time on this, and I think we're coming to the conclusion that saying, asserting our rights that this is our material, this is our intellectual property, and we will take appropriate measures if it's used inappropriately. I think that's good policy, but I don't think we need to engage further than consultants or, registering assets that, let's be honest, they change all the time. The website content changes all the time, and not all of it is generated by the city or TGA. A lot of it is user generated. So it would take a lot of discerning what we actually own and what we don't before registering, and is it really worth it if in 6 months or 1 more year we're going to have to do it again? When in the history of the city being a tourist destination since the 1960s, this has come up one time. And, the public shame, I think, took care of the problem.
So just add more protective language in the policy and
Yeah.
add it to our website.
Yeah.
I think that,
I would say what we're saying is that I'm going to disagree, because I think we need to, if the next step is to spend $1,000 to not using the right language, register the content for the copyright protection or the website itself as a bundle, it seems like we would have spent all this money and not taken the actual step of true protection for $1,000. Seems really
The problem I have with that
short-sighted.
is that'll happen every 6 months. We have to,
It-
because we
I
add
think-
data to it all
But
the
actually,
time.
Claudia's making a good point. We don't have to. What we are doing is putting the stake in the ground and saying, this
I
is
disagree.
this is the content that we actually have the right to enforce protection on. If we don't, we're doing what we are right now, which is
But we
no
just-
change.
We put a copyright on the bottom of everything that we have.
It's already there.
So
And the
we're-
lawyer
so
said
we're-
it's
Not on our
enough.
website.
Oh, not on the government website. Okay.
And that's all we're saying
That's
is.
all you're
let's
doing.
pay
Yeah,
attention.
let's do that.
But I don't want to, I'll go along with Clow. I don't want to do a whole lot more than that right now. I don't think it's worth it.
You don't think it's worth $1,000? Wow. You're willing to risk $1,000 that if someone were to copy and paste any bit of the content and use it nefariously, you're okay with that?
If I may, I think it would cost more than 1,000.
So what's the number? What would it cost?
Well, Mr. Smith, what's your billable rate?
Do we?
$900
Oh,
an
wait a
hour.
minute. We do not
Yeah.
need a consultative lawyer just to file that. We don't.
As the city's attorney, I would recommend that we engage trademark counsel if you want to actually register any trademark.
Okay, you didn't. You the numbers that you gave us were pretty small.
The registration fee numbers?
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't include legal fees to do
Okay,
it.
then you haven't given us all the information.
Well, it's hard to tell. We don't engage in the consultants and say, hey, how much is this going to cost me? So, but we are aware that it's not just the cost of registration. And again, if we were in the business of selling merchandise, creating content that we license to others, then it makes sense. But we are marketing the experience. We're not selling the experience itself. So I think, yeah, just being very clear that, we own our rights and we will use them, I think is sufficient.
so I think we need to kind of wrap this up. And I mean, I want to thank Don and Matt for all their time and everything. It seems like we would have some protection, more protection if we put all the language, appropriate language on all the websites and everything we have, and I think we would still be in a position to do a cease and desist and anything like that without having to go a lot deeper on this. I mean, I think we do have some protections. So I
think I'm hearing three of you say, which would be a majority, say that you would like to direct staff to ensure that there's proper disclaimers for copyright protection on all the city's websites. And we can look at that. I think there is some on the, it's probably there on the marketing, but it sounds like maybe it's not on the government website. I'm also hearing that the majority of you would like the city staff to, if there is an instance where use is not a city asset that we own that's being used without permission, that we send a letter to say stop using it. That would be like as a policy direction going forward if that ever came up again.
Yeah.
But beyond that, to not take further action.
Well, I don't agree. We wasted a bunch of time and money.
I was trying to capture the conclusion of the majority.
I got you.
Yeah.
I got it.
Okay.
I hope no one steals any of our stuff.
I think with that, we have direction. Thank you. And thank you, Matt and Don, for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very
Certainly,
much.
it's our pleasure. Please let us know if there's anything else we can do for the city.
Thank you.
All right, so you have direction. So now we'll move on to 8B. Does someone want to bring?
Madam Clerk, would you read number 8B into the record, please?
Adopt Resolution 26-1323, adopting a biannual budget for fiscal year 26-27 through 27-28.
Thank you. Staff report, please.
All right. So before you tonight is the final draft of the biennial budget for fiscal years 26-27 and 27-28. At the June 8th meeting, we brought the draft budget to council to review and discuss and make any recommended changes. Council did not make any recommended changes, so you directed staff to return it tonight for final adoption. However, between June 8th and last week, we renewed the janitorial contract for Extreme Clean, and we increased the janitorial expenses an additional $20,282 to cover the extra services that they're providing. So that is the only change to the budget. So I will be brief, and next slide, please. And I will just review what we have. So for the budget recap for all funds, 26-27 revenue is expected to be $31,417,000. Expenses are expected to be $30,818,000 with a surplus of $598,340 between all funds. For 27-28, the revenues is $31,343,000. Expenses is $27,849,000 with a surplus of almost $3.5 million, and that's due to Measure U expenses and the suspended Table A not being included in the 27-28 budget. Next slide. For the general fund overview, 26-27, revenues are 13.9 million, expenses are 13.6 million, with a surplus of $320,304. And the surplus in each fund helps pay for the capital projects for those funds. 27-28, the revenues are 14 million, expenses are 15.3 million, with a deficit of 1.2 million. However, that's because Measure U is not, Measure U does not have any expenses, actually, for the law enforcement. The general fund revenue, TOT, sales tax, and property tax make up 77.8% of the general fund revenues. Tourism and the broader economic conditions can directly affect the general fund revenue because TOT is 64% of our general fund revenue. Next slide, please. The general fund expenses. The largest operating categories are personnel is 5.5 million, services is 3.7 million, county other contracted services is almost 1.7 million. Agency contributions are 844,000, and projects are 588,000. I'll go over those categories. Services include street sweeping, street trees, insurance, studies, IT expenses, custodial, legal fees, and professional fees. And services is 3.7 million. Next slide, please. Contracted services is almost 1.7 million, and that includes law enforcement, the audit, mental health assessment, animal control, and LAFCO. Projects is 588,000, and that includes agenda management software, a lactation station, Yulefest, a retrofit tree wells, streetlight banners, planning, FEMA reimbursement, park and rec office remodel, track trash implementation, a stormwater report, and Centennial Plaza remodel. And then City Council agenda agency contributions is 844,000, and that includes Visitor Center, Library, Senior Center, Solvang Chamber of Commerce, Solvang Theater Fest, Danish Days, Elverhoy Museum, Rotary Club, and of the San Ynez Valley, which is for the fireworks show and elections, and also the grant funding, but we'll review those on the next slide. With personnel and human services grant funding, for the grant funding, we are going to award $92,500 to Atterdag at Home, People Helping People, Solvang Elementary School Education Foundation, Solvang Rotary Parade 4th of July, and then San Ynez Valley Veggie Rescue. Staffing personnel costs for general fund and the enterprise funds is $6.89 million. The staffing changes include adding 10 part-time seasonal lifeguard swim instructors, and then, as we discussed last time, replaces a human resource specialist with a management analyst with an emphasis in human resources full-time position. And that position will support the HR compliance, employee relations, policy development, records retention, and recognition efforts. Next slide, please. Measure U and enterprise funds. Measure U 26-27 revenue is projected to be 2.45 million. Measure U expenses is 3.79 million, and because it's so much more for expenses, we'll be using the fund balance to help fund those expenses. And that includes law enforcement, Hans Christian Andersen Park, the Hans Christian Andersen Skate Park, Sunnyfields Playground, weed abatement, the fire management plan, and slurry seal area 1 in lots 1 through 4. With the enterprise funds, water revenue is projected to be 6.66 million, expenses to be 7,304,000, which is a deficit of 635,000. However, that includes the suspended Table A of water purchase for 829,000, which we don't predict that we'll be spending that, but we do have to budget so we don't lose that moving forward. Wastewater revenue is $3,722,000. Expenses is $3,336,000, and we're looking at a surplus of $385,491. And as a reminder, we will be, once we get funding for the wastewater treatment plant upgrade, we will be reimbursing those expenses that we have spent. The 27-28 revenue expenses for the enterprise funds will be determined based on the rate study that we'll be concluding after July 1. Next slide, please. Fund balances and capital projects. Now, the capital projects amounts have already changed because we have almost finalized the CIP, but I wanted to make sure that that I note that it's subject to change based on the final CIP. 26-27 general fund fund balances is $10,166,000, and for 27-28 it's projected, if we do all the capital improvement projects that we have planned to do, the general fund fund balance will be $2,260,945. Measure U fund balance is $213,609, and at the 27-28 the fund balance should be $2.4 million, and that's so high because we don't have any expenses listed in Measure U yet because
Sorry, the number you entered was not recognized. Please enter your full 16-digit credit card account number.
Where's that coming from?
is that a bomber?
Coming through the speaker.
It's weird. I have no idea.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. The water fund is projected for 26-27 to have a fund balance of $654,167.
Just pause a minute. Let's get the credit card number to pay for all this.
Record does not match the information on file. Please enter the primary address on the account. Please enter your zip code. If you are calling about a reason.
Okay.
Debbie pays her.
Like I said, maybe we should get that credit card account now. So, yeah.
I think she wants me home.
So, yeah. Sorry for the interruption. Go ahead.
Right. Anyways, okay. So if we do the capital projects that's projected for 27-28 in the water fund, we will have a deficit of $1,732,000. However, the rate study, we do have to show those numbers because the rate study needs to be able to capture all the capital projects that we need to do. Wastewater fund will have a negative $3,580,000 for 26-27. And for 27-28, a negative $6,199,000. But like I stated before, once we get the funding from the USDA loan, those figures will change. So staff will update the CIP and reduce fund balance impacts and include ADA transition plan recommendations. Evaluate timing, priorities, and funding sources for the capital projects. Planning Commission conformity review and City Council final approval will follow July 13th. Or actually, no, July 6th, and then we bring it to Council on July 13th. The utility rate study will evaluate enterprise funds, cost needs, and funding strategies. Next slide, please. The long-term outlook, as Ms. Alameen described in her public comment. Yes, at the end of 2036, the general fund balance is projected to be a negative $16 million if we continue with the capital projects and do not look at any other additional revenue sources. And if all those projects are completed, yes, there could be a negative $16 million, but obviously we cannot do that. So we will have to have corrective action over the next 10 years to avoid that. General fund, water fund, and wastewater fund forecasts show expenditures outpacing revenues over time. Measure U will continue to pay for supplementing the general fund and supporting the city's services. And what does this mean? Staff will continue to monitor the major revenue sources, capital project timing, grant opportunities, service levels, enterprise fund needs, cost reductions and revenue strategies, and looking at additional revenue sources. So next slide. With that, the recommended action is to adopt Resolution 261323, approving the biennial budget for fiscal years 26-27 and 27-28. Do you have any questions?
Thank you. Any questions for staff?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that it's clear that in the line that says City Council $800,000, so that includes all the contributions that council makes to different community agencies.
Yes, so it's the library, it's the senior center, it's the grant funding, it's the Theater Fest, it's the Elverhoy, it's all of those.
Yeah, it's not us making $800,000
No,
collectively.
It is not. Yeah, it is not. And don't calculate your hourly wage because you won't be very happy.
Question, you mentioned the law enforcement. What are you showing for annual?
Just in the
cost?
general fund, it's 1.5 million, but it'll be up to like 3.7 million in 27-28.
But that's not the total amount that we pay for law enforcement.
Yes,
That is.
yes. So
1.3 million?
No,
so-
in general fund. The other
In
part comes
general-
out of Measure U.
Yes.
Okay.
So in 26-27, it's like 3.4 million, and 1.5 is coming out of general fund, and the rest is coming out. It's like 1.7 or 8 is coming out of Measure U.
Any further questions?
Wendy, I wanted to take a moment because the public comment kind of highlighted the long-term outlook
Yes.
and the impact on general fund. I think we just chose words that could be more effective when we said without corrective action. You were simply pointing out that we need grant money and other funding and to project future revenues. It's not that there's an urgent requirement.
Correct.
If we pass this budget for us to do something now. It was a projection of the capital impact.
Correct.
In future years.
And that's why we had to present it the way it is, because we have to show that, we don't have this endless bucket of money. And we also have to show that Measure U, the forefathers had that foresight to put that tax on. And that money, in reality, is to help fund the law enforcement contract, not do all these extra services. And we're to that point now where we're not going to be able to use the Measure U monies to spend a lot of additional services like we have been doing, because we'll need that money to fund. If we don't come up with any other revenue sources, we'll have to use that money to supplement the general fund.
I understand what you're saying, but that's not how, I just want to correct one thing. There were additional 911 services that were in the language when we voted for that. That wasn't to cover the sheriff's contract specifically.
Well, it said 911 services, law enforcement.
It was for added services, not to cover existing contracts. So let's just be careful. We're having to use it because the fees are increasing on us at a very aggressive increments.
Yes, but it does say, are you looking up the exact categories, or you want me to?
The ballot language was general because if it had been specific for law enforcement, it would have needed a 2/3 majority. So it was
So be
passed as a
careful
general
because that's
tax.
not how the voters voted for it. Be careful. They voted for it according to the language that was on the ballot.
Correct. But what Wendy is pointing out is that it won't be much longer. It will all be used to pay the additional law enforcement costs. So we need to find other options, and it's one of the reasons we're looking at finding another law enforcement provider, because we hopefully can do it for less money. But if based on continuing cost escalations, the additional projects and items that were identified in that ballot language become secondary to the law enforcement contract. Over time, not tomorrow, not next week, not even next year, but over time, the staff looked at the escalating costs for sheriff when the measure you
What I think you're really saying is it's putting pressure on the rest of the general fund
Right.
line items. But we shouldn't just assume Measure U gets fully dedicated to sheriff, one line item.
Bottom line is
Well,
we need more money than we have.
We're not today, but what he's saying is that we know we need more money.
Okay. If there's no other questions, I'm going to open it to public comment. Is anybody online? Any slips? Okay, then I will close it to public comment and bring it back to the dais for action or further discussion. Mr. Fonte?
How about a motion?
That's quite actionable.
I move that we adopt Resolution 261323, adopting the biennial budget for fiscal year 2627 to 2728.
I'll second it.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to adopt Resolution 261323, Item 8, Bravo. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Infante.
Yes.
Councilmember Claudia Rona.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Yes.
Councilmember Elizabeth Arona.
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. We are moving on to item 8C, as in Charlie.
Adopt Resolution 261324, setting and adopting the range schedule for non-represented employees effective July 1, 2026.
Thank you. Staff report, please.
All right. Since City Council approved the biennial budget for fiscal years 26, 27, and 27, 28, that budget includes salary and fringe benefits for the city employees. And the salaries in the budget included a 4% cost of living adjustment. We put forward the resolution tonight to authorize implementation of that 4% for the eligible non-represented exempt employees effective July 1, 2026. The proposed adjustment is only for the non-represented exempt employees. Hourly and part-time employees are not included in the 4% cost of living adjustment at this time. So with that, I'll turn it back to City Council.
Thank you. What was your inflation adjustment for represented employees?
We
in the
have not
budget?
finished negotiations yet, so that is undetermined,
Okay,
which is why it's not for the
okay.
hourly.
Then, is that for 1 year only, that 4%, or is it continue to the rest of the, for 2 years, or?
Well, it's for 1 year, but that 4% won't go away.
No, understood. But it's only for the next 12 months,
Yes.
basically. It doesn't
Yes.
extend beyond that
Correct,
for 4%, or we can readjust it at that time.
correct.
Thank you.
So the language does say 27 and 28.
That's the budget.
So this is for
Is it?
1 year.
Did I? Yeah,
It's a step up, and then we do it again next year, the step up remains, right?
Yeah, if you adopt it tonight, their salary is going to go up by the 4%, and I'll stay at that level until you take additional action. It's not a new 4% every year by adopting this. It's just 4% this year, and then their salaries will stay.
The mayor asked, is this for
The
2
salary
years or for
ranges,
one?
those are based on, those are merit increases going forward.
Thank you. So that's a question. This is a cap. It is not a guarantee, correct? It is the maximum, and then we still determine what individual incremental raises are based on merit.
If they
and
receive
reviews, correct?
a acceptable evaluation, they will go to the next step, yes,
Okay.
on their anniversary date.
And is there really fringe benefits in here, or just benefits?
In the budget. In
Yeah,
the budget,
this is just
What is a
salary. This is
fringe
pay.
benefit? What is a fringe benefit?
retirement, housing,
Medical.
medical, bilingual.
Thanks for clarifying. I don't want it to sounds like
No,
it's
yeah, and
compulsory.
and it's in the budget. It's 4% in the budget. The 4% is for 1 year for the budget of 26-27.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions? I'll open it to public comment, if there is any. Anybody online? Anybody? Okay, I will close it to public comment and bring it back for action or further discussion.
I'll make a motion. I'll move to adopt Resolution 261324, which is setting and adopting the new salary range schedule for non-represented exempt employees, and authorize the 4% cost of living adjustment effective July 1st, 2026.
And I will second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve 8C, adopt resolution 261324. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Infante.
Yes.
Councilmember Claudia Arona.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Yes.
Councilmember Elizabeth Arona.
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes,
Motion passes 5-0.
thank you. Do we have any council closing comments?
I have one more closing comment. I'm just going to go back to the copyright issue because I was wrong. It isn't $1,000 to register the copyright. The slide says $100. If and additional for a group registration. So it's only $100 to take the extra step, but no one corrected me. And the attorney fees were if utilized. So it doesn't even sound like, based on the presentation, that an attorney's even necessary. But again, no actual representative discussion on that. So I want to make sure even the public knows that we decided just not to take the final step because we don't want to spend a few dollars. I mean, we could all make a donation up here,
Yeah.
and we would cover the cost.
Okay, oh, thank you. I wanted to, I'm sorry, but I skipped a couple of things that I did go to the chamber. My notes were incomplete. On the 11th, I also went to a chamber mixer and the UBEC committee meeting. On the 12th was a city mayor's leadership forum in Santa Barbara with other mayors throughout the Santa Barbara County. We visited the jail and the new jail under construction for the police department and their facility. I couldn't believe the price tag on that. It was $120 million.
Oh, the North County one?
No, just downtown Santa Barbara City.
Oh, they're getting yet
City.
another one.
That's not county. The police station, yeah. Well, it has a jail in it, and there's cells down in the dungeon. It's not finished yet, so I was able to get out. But there you have it. And I also want to thank Parks and Recreation. I was not able to make it, but I heard that the Pride Festival and Parade were outstanding and fun. And I want to thank him also for getting the pool opened for at the high school and getting that activity available for everyone. Unless there's anything else, I'm going to adjourn the meeting at 9:23.